of Kenya. Billy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah, maybe just introduce yourself before we get into this. The Peers Mentors Club, Mentor Club, and also matters of political literacy. Just a short introduction to maybe our viewers to get to understand you, and then we can get into the headlines and more stories on the dailies.
Okay, viewers, my name is Billy Khaemba. I am currently a student at Kenyatta University. I am the organizing secretary of the Peer Mentors Club, and I'm also looking forward to the founding of political literacy and consultancy, and I'm very glad and happy to be in this studio today.
Right. We'll be getting into that conversation on political literacy just in a while. However, let's maybe, I don't know, which is your favorite headline? We can start with the one you like the most. The Standard of the Daily Nation?
The Standard.
All right. Ruto turns GMOs in face of food crisis. You were telling me earlier that, well, maybe just asking your view. Of course, seeing that President Kibaki's government did ban GMO cultivation in the country, but now President William Ruto lifting that ban, trying to get you which side you're on. You're saying that there are dangers we need to consider in the cultivation of, or in the lifting of that ban. Maybe what are your deepest concerns when it comes to GMOs?
You know, as much as I try to believe that technology is evolving every now and then, and it may not be bad to try new things, but I think Kenyans were not yet ready for the GMOs.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing about Kenyans we love fast things.
Mm-hmm.
We are impatient. We love doing things on our own. And you know, like you can see in those developed countries, you will see that the procedures that are done in these GMOs, because these GMOs involve inducement of genes or hormones into crops or animals to produce some desirable traits. Mm-hmm. And you know, like, you know, Africans or Kenyans, we are likely to sometimes surpass or underdo it, because, you know, we all believe in making profits. Mm-hmm. And of course, I don't think if we have any that agent, you can say an institution, mm-hmm. that is best there to regulate the importation or the growing, mm-hmm. or the manufacture of these GMOs. Mm-hmm. And of course, it may expose Kenyans into great dangers, because, mm-hmm. you know, these things when consumed, and sometimes they may be consumed in active forms, you know, because we really need to take so much process, mm-hmm. to ensure that these GMOs are standardized to an extent that there will be no harmful states into their bodies.
Right.
But how we sure that the Kenyans will use these right procedures? Mm-hmm. And if they will use, what will they be their measures? Will we say that KEBS will be in charge of this? And mm-hmm. of course, we've seen so much products have been entering the market despite us having Kenya Bureau of Standards, which are harmful to the Kenyan societies. You've been, mm-hmm. talking about the mercury, sugar in the, mm-hmm. stuffs.
Yes.
What if this GMOs turns to be even more worse than even the mercury?
Than what we have seen in issues of aflatoxin, yes. And that has been seen in sugar and some of the black market sort of flour that we've seen. Now, the president did say that the cabinet has considered some of those concerns or proposals, and the argument, of course, is that we need to stop or to reduce the reliance on rain-fed agriculture by increasing irrigation, planting some of these drought-resistant crops, especially in some areas, which the 23 counties, of course, we've seen where the drought has been quite a menace, where drought and famine has been quite a menace. So maybe if we don't go to the GMO direction because of health and safety concerns, as has been from the past, what would be the relief maybe then we can offer some of this, or 4 million of these Kenyans who are undergoing starvation?
You know, the president started his term very well on a right foot by saying that he's going to increase the fertilizer, he's going to decrease the prices of fertilizers, right. Of which is a good thing. And of course, most farmers have been incurring losses because of planting crops without fertilizers. Mm-hmm. And you know, when we subsidize the prices of fertilizers, it means that it's going to be affordable for every Kenyan. And if it's become affordable for every Kenyan, it means that we're going to increase the rate of food production in Kenya. And then, of course, like look at the northern counties, like we can say Turkana, Marsabit, and Moyale. They have land capacity. They are dry, yes, but that's not an excuse. Look at the countries such as Israel. Israel is a desert, but it does irrigation. And of course, I believe like the current research that was done in Turkana, we saw that there's so much underground water. If that underground water could be utilized to irrigate that land, I believe that land will be a very better place. Because Kenyans, as you can see, the population rate, it's like 68 people per kilometer squared per kilometer squared. So it means that there's so much land for agricultural use, and it's only that maybe that land is dry. But if in case the government just tries to do what we call irrigation, not just using hormones or genes to cultivate them, but using plain water, which is likely to be produced from the ground or from the reservoirs, it means that they will be able to produce much arable. The problem is Kenya is that we don't have that sufficient education on crop. We rely so much on cash crop farming, you know.
Right. All right, here I have the long road to allowing GMOs in Kenya, information provided by the National Biosafety Authority. Maybe I just mention the highlights. In 2006, Kenya approved the National Biotechnology Policy, and this in 2009, National Biosafety Authority established with the mandate to exercise control over transfer, handling, and use of genetically modified organisms. So there is the National Biosafety Authority, which is supposed to take a look at how exactly we are going to be handling, or how exactly we're going to conduct this genetically modified cultivation. So a lot of stuff happened, of course, regulations, research activity throughout the years, approval of genetically modified products and cultivation. But in 2012, the Minister of Public Health, Beth Mugo, established a task force to evaluate information on the safety of GMOs. In 2012, again, Kenya banned GMO imports, and May 2012, still, Kenya approves the modification of banana for development of doubled haploid plants under the laboratory and greenhouse conditions in Kenya. In 2013, however, a task force again came back with a report noting that the government was actually right in banning the import of GMOs. Fast forward to April of 2022, that is, the United States faults Kenya over the failure to approve imported GMO foods and crops. And now, in October 2022, the ban has been lifted. So it does look like there's also international concern and diplomacy involved in how this approval has been done. So maybe we get to have the National Biosafety Authority have a thorough look and find, maybe not totally ban GMO cultivation, but maybe have a very well instituted regulatory body to ensure that there is safety in the cultivation of this. What will you take on that?
My stance still remain the same. But you see, if Kenyans,
even with strict regulations,
look, if Kenyans will be ready to take correct procedures in doing things, then we can take a look at this thing. But if Kenyans continue to persist with the current attitudes they have towards things, towards business, every Kenyan takes things on a business matter. They don't care who consumes these things, or they don't care of what will happen next. What they only care is how much am I gaining in making, But even if as much we have this task force, and remember that these companies, these international agencies that are compelling Kenyans to buy this, it's their business as well. They're doing business. So we cannot see any much attributes to them, because it's their business. Because if we buy them, we are promoting them. Is Kenya involved in manufacturing of these things? No. So we're not going to gain anything. Actually, we'll be let me not say this, but lab rats, but of experimentations of these things. Like if we open our doors to these GMOs, we'll be encouraging more scientific research from those countries. So because they know, after all, if they have a consumer market in Africa, in Kenya. So like, as I said, if Kenyans will be ready to take things on the right procedures, we can.
Right education on farming and also on cultivation of products. Now, speaking of food, still maybe a little of a downer, page 3 of the Standard here, from holding knife like a spear, chewing noisily, and other don'ts of fine dining. So this is a detailed editorial here by Lynette Komboka, one page on etiquette when it comes to eating. I won't go much into it. However, are there some of things you think are ridiculous? There here some of those dining etiquettes which some say are not African. Maybe when you finish your food, put your spoon upside down, hold your knife on the right hand, hold your fork on the... Does it matter? Like, does it matter, really?
Like, being a Pan-Africanist, it does matter. Because, like, why should we always learn the ways of other people's? Like, Africans, we are used to sitting down. We have that, like, a tray. We put our meals here and we share.
Yeah.
Should we always just go and borrow everything? We borrow the education, their political systems, their economic systems. Even now, we're starting to borrow their eating systems. Like, why should we do that?
Yeah, we shouldn't. You can read that on page 3. Just a small segue into maybe a fun article, but I think I already have 10 spoons and forks on my hands. I don't need much more of this etiquette, but you can tell me what you think. On page 4, is the DP speaking himself into infamy or sets out hard truths? So we've seen more often than not Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua coming out to make statements which have put him right in the middle, right in the eye of the storm. Some of the statements have been about the media and how unfair the media is to him. The others still, of course, public utterances on the Central Bank of Kenya or on the foreign exchange reserves, which is the current hot conversation. And also remember, just a few weeks or just a week and a half ago, if I'm not wrong, he did come out, of course, to speak out on the Shamba system, but later on saying that he's been misquoted. Is he being misquoted or is he being mischievous?
He's just being mischievous. This guy is a public figure, and he's supposed to act like a public figure. He's not even a public figure, he's a national figure. If I say a public speaker, a figure, it means all the celebrities. So he's a national figure, and everything that is supposed to be is supposed to speak, whether before a camera or not. They're supposed to be realistic, and they're supposed to be carefully filtered. Because, like, look at the statements he's making about farming in the forest. How many forests are we having in Kenya? And most of these forests that you're having in Kenya are all endangered. Now, if this person gives a green card for farmers to go into those forests, one thing leads to another thing. My genuine concerns may be just going to farm inside the forest and not tamper with the trees. But at long last, I might go a further move to clear some trees so that I get more space for my cultivation.
Right.
So, like, him speaking about things relating to Kenya, whether security or agriculture or anything, should be filtered. And I think he's giving his president so much time to explain, because everything that he's doing here, the president receives phone calls. I believe he receives phone calls from the UN, from the AU and other stuff to explain some of these things. For example, there's a statement he made about Forex. That's a very critical area.
Saying that Kenya does not have enough foreign exchange or reserves for foreign exchange. However, the CBK refuting that claim, saying, of course, maybe if I can read that before you go on, Rigathi Gachagua did say last week that we do not have enough foreign exchange, even saying that the Central Bank of Kenya was not that in the Central Bank of Kenya there was not enough foreign money to import oil from foreign countries. Later, the CBK issued a statement saying the CBK does not actually supply foreign exchange for transactions other than for the national government, and that oil importers therefore obtain their requisite foreign exchange from commercial banks and not CBK. And that is exactly how it works. CBK does not give dollars to Kenyans or to traders, it gives out to commercial banks, which eventually avail this to any traders who might want to do the exchange. DP Gachagua saying that Kenya does not have enough foreign reserves. However, CBK says we do have enough runway to take us to 4.5 months, roughly 4.5 months, which is still within the threshold required by the government for the CBK to be holding in terms of foreign reserves. So maybe he gets people who know or gets experts who are experts in finance or experts in agriculture to speak on his behalf, or maybe he does not have enough advisors.
No, he's not even supposed to be speaking about it.
Yeah.
That's not even the work of the deputy president. The work of the deputy president is to deputize the president in any other role given to him. Mm-hmm. This is the work of the cabinet secretary in charge of finance. Mm-hmm. And these statements, the foreign investors depends on foreign exchange to do business with this country. Mm-hmm. I will not want to do business with you when I don't see anything that I will benefit from you, Mm-hmm. And as Kenya, we are developing countries. We really require these investors. Mm-hmm. Now, if we scare away these investors by saying that we don't have enough foreign in our account, in our account, mm-hmm. then what are you doing? The president has to receive calls from the World Bank, because even the World Bank is also scared because we have loans with them. Mm-hmm. So it has to be scared. So he has to receive phone calls from the World Bank to explain why we don't have enough and the possibility of us paying these debts. Mm-hmm. So there are some things that are supposed just to be kept as a secret.
Right.
Let's people just discover these things on themselves.
Right.
Because when we discover right now, it's like we are not getting even scared. Mm-hmm. Like me, if I want to venture into maybe import and export business, I will have to be scared
because you're now aware that there are not enough dollars for you to get into that kind of business.
Yes, so be scared. Mm-hmm. Because this is the person who is second in command. Mm-hmm. Is the person, when he says something, I believe it's true.
It's informed, right?
It's informed. Mm-hmm. It's true, because he has sources. We believe he has sources. We believe he has informants. Mm-hmm. So if he comes and says that we don't have enough forex, even if the CBK will come and try to trash his statements, I will have all the reasons to believe him.
Right.
Because I believe he's a second in command. So he just have to somebody needs to tame him. Somebody needs to.
It's just a month in to his role as deputy president, but he's come under fire for so many other issues, as we've mentioned, from agriculture to now finance. I think it's time, that the deputy president got himself a very serious advisor, or maybe a few more experts who are aware of some of these technical issues and exactly how it works out. So we've said it's mischief and not misquote.
It's not misquote.
Right. Loose cannon Gachagua and his many gaffers. You can get to read that on the Standard that is there on page 4. Is the DP speaking himself into infamy or sets out hard truths? Moving on, there are any other story that is of interest here? Especially, you told me you have you are setting your eyes on what is happening in the House. That is matters of who is taking the majority side in Parliament. Legally, Azimio has 173 MPs, but Kenya Kwanza has 180 MPs after raiding the rival camp. The Speaker, that is Moses Wetangula, has assured that he will handle the leadership matters in an impartial manner. So we've seen that UDM, PAA, MCC, and MDG moved out of Azimio. Those are some of those parties which jumped ship to President William Ruto's side of Kenya Kwanza. How do you guess Parliament is going to look like if we have this kind of jumps? Of course, we witnessed this even before the swearing in of members of Parliament. However, still, Wetangula saying that is going to be fair in how, or going to be impartial in how business is conducted in the House.
Well, I think it's time for Kenyans to mature up. in terms of politics. How do you switch camp because your coalition failed?
Has lost.
Then what was your goal? Your goal was just to enter parliament, not any other role. Because actually what they have done, it's not even recognized in the constitution. Because there's a laws or there are enactments that governs the switching from coalitions to another.
Right.
I think it requires 6 months or something for one to legally move from one coalition into another. So whether they like it or not, they're still in Azimio. They have just confirmed their loyalty to the president. But that does not mean that they have shifted. And if they mean that they have shifted, then it means that their seats should be declared vacant according to the constitution.
Right.
Their seats should be declared vacant. So I don't think if this whole situation of majority should be a question. I think it's genuinely that Azimio has the majority in the parliament, and it should not even be a debatable issue in the parliament.
Azimio actually does maintain, as you've mentioned, that these parties which did jump ship have not followed due process to move out and are legally members of the coalition party, which means that they are still the majority in parliament for that regard.
Still, there's no debate about that.
All right.
They just want to politicize everything.
Okay. One other thing that is happening in Bunge is that Bunge la Mwananchi, the president of Bunge la Mwananchi, Calvin Okoth, at a sitting in Jivanji Garden, has warned the current national parliament that if the historic high of inflation continues, we will be taking to the streets. So job opportunities, hustler funds, all those promises, he says, should be a reality as soon as possible. If not, he's given them 2 weeks. He's given the government or parliament 2 weeks, and we'll be going to the street to protest some of these measures. Do we still use this as a means of pushing the government, or I thought that our democratic right voting in leaders was supposed to be the end?
Yeah, I think we'll talk about my initiative about political literacy, and it just deals with these things. Because I can realize that, Kenyans, we don't have literacy about politics. We wait for 5 years to remove these bad leaders. Or we elect people expecting to fulfill our dreams like in a flash of light.
Right.
Everything involves process. Like, you cannot expect the president, Ruto, to come today and announce that from tomorrow you will have to buy unga at 20 bob or at 70 bill. There's so much things involved in this. Like, you take your parliament, your member of parliament into parliament, and expect by tomorrow or by next month your roads are all supposed to be tarmacked. And of course he has the right. He has the right to do that. And
but you think we should give time for the parliament to settle in?
Yeah, we should give time for the parliament to settle in. Let's organize the house. We still have this cloud of majority. We still have this cloud of subsidies and some, so like we have the Rigiji in the house doing his mixes. So we really need to give them time a bit. But then still, we really need to learn how politics works.
Right. Just on that exact point that you're saying, we need to learn on how exactly politics works. There's a very good opinion piece here by John Wahome on page 18 of the Standard saying, obsessive politics are slowly robbing Kenyans of their reasoning ability. So all these energetic campaigns and local politics has come to eclipse other worthy vocations in both prestige and remuneration. There's that super obsession into the process of politics or the process of elections, but less on exactly how the political process works and how functions or how the machine functions in matters of politics. So as you said, maybe we do actually need to have more political literacy, and we'll be getting into exactly what you do. But I don't know if my producer has this image of the editorial cartoon here, the National Hustler Investment Fund. If you can have a look at that, if you have the Standard, you should be very afraid when hyenas fight over the welfare of goats and lambs. And they have that there, a poster of the National Hustler Investment Fund, and also a very small quote at the bottom of the editorial cartoon, they're also saying you should even be more worried or be more scared when goats and lambs are cheering as the hyenas are fighting over the welfare of goats and lambs. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I think it just hit the point, because like you can see, like Kenyans, we really love to cheer people, but we don't love to rationalize everything. Like somebody comes here and tells you that we are going to educate your children from nursery school to university. Like, you know, do you understand the cost of education?
Right.
Not only in Kenya but in the entire world. You know, and you'll find that there are so many people cheering up. Like they say that this guy leads us, but you realize that that thing is not even realistic. Even you cannot even educate. Even the free primary education in the village I come from, there are still people being sent home every week for activity fee, for this fee. So there's no day that you'll see these hyenas fighting for the lamb, because after they have finished fighting for themselves, the next target will be the sheep.
Right, definitely.
Yes.
Of course. So maybe you take a look at that and also tell us your interpretation at KUTV Kenya on all social platforms. That maybe we move from the Standard and have a look also at the Daily Nation. The state of the shilling, 120.77, the value of the shilling against the dollar. Maybe if you're not aware of how things have been, this is a new law which has been seen since the beginning of the year at 113.13. It is going to force us to pay more on external debt, and traders are going to mark up their goods, which means that when you're doing importations, you are doing it in dollars, right?
Yes.
When you're doing exports, you're doing it in Kenyan shillings, which therefore means we need to increase our exports if at all the shilling is going to survive against the dollar. However, this coming in the backdrop of a lot of other international issues, such as the war in Ukraine, biting inflation, recovering from COVID-19 at a time where high global crude oil prices have really pushed up. The weaker shilling, while a boon to exporters who are earning more from selling their produce abroad, has increased the cost of importing goods and services. So we're going to make there's so much happening that is preventing the shilling from getting or from bouncing back. As you've said there, some are even outside our borders. From your perspective, is there a way to bring back the shilling?
Well, the only way to bring about the shilling back is to consider what you call a corruption model. You know, the President Ruto focused much on the economic model without focusing much on the shilling or the corruption model. Because I can see Kenya, we have money. Like, if the president can come before a media and say that we are losing 2 billion every day, do you know how much is 2 billion every day? Like, in a week, we have like 14 billion lost on corruption. And you know, this is the billion that's supposed to be channeled into the economy to boost the shilling back to where it is. Like, as much as we may try to blame the war in Ukraine, you know, the war in Ukraine is not fought on Kenyan ground. You know, it is not fought on Ugandan ground. It's fought in Ukraine, and it's fought, and meaning it affects every nation that surrounds the Russia and Ukraine thing, including the United States in the entire European Union. So even if we try to blame everything on this war, we are not trying to solve anything. The only thing that we need to solve here is how to create necessary policies that will prevent or that will secure Kenyans against corruption. Because when we continue to lose this money, the more the cost of life is. And the problem is that, you know, this corruption, we have so much money going into corruption, and then this money that is going to corruption is not in Kenya. It's in foreign banks.
Right.
So there is lack of enough shilling in Kenya, in the Kenyan banks.
And we're still taking it away.
we are still taking it away.
Right.
Somebody has account in Zimbabwe, in New Zealand, and anywhere, and you expect even if there was no war in Ukraine, the same problem will still be there.
Right.
Look at the campaign periods. We spent a lot of money, and we don't know where this money went into the ground. There's this money, the essence of money is to circulate within the system, but the problem is that this money does not circulate within the system.
Right. Kenya relies on diaspora remittances, exports, grants, aid, foreign loans, and foreign direct investment for its forex supply. Now that we've seen the Deputy President saying that we don't have enough foreign exchange reserves, and also seeing that because of the weakening shilling, do we now then go to extra borrowing? Would that be the new solution? Maybe increase the debt ceiling and have more of those loans coming in so that we can maybe bounce back and find a way to repay our external debts.
Extra borrowing should not be even the case to consider here. What the president promised us that as soon as he hands over he puts down the Bible, is coming for the cartels, and then we believe that these cartels are the people who have money. If we carry out audits, like I was reading an article in about somewhere in Khaemba West, a school principal can manage to steal 1.5 million from account of a school. That is a school. What about this public institution? I was just reading another article, a 21 salary person having 10 cars and 9 plots. Like, why should we just come down and say, hey, this is the amount of money we are having, this is the amount of salaries we are paying our people, and this is the amount of our assets they are owning. How did you own these assets? I believe that we still have so much. We have so
much money in the economy.
We still have so much money. These people who have run away with our money into debt, let's follow these people. They say the government has long hand. Has this hand been cut off? Because if this government has a long hand, it means that they're able to find any person from wherever their policy is and bring back their money. Because even if we continue to borrow, that money will be borrowed. They will still also channel into people's pockets. Then they will also flee with it. So instead of creating solutions, we'll be creating even more deeper problems.
I see.
So we don't have to.
All right, so there are loopholes in the government, public institutions that need to be looked at to ensure that cash flow is going or being used towards the necessary expenditure. Here, some of the other reliefs which you've seen from President William Ruto is fuel now being exempt from new KRA inflation adjustment tax, and the court has paid motorists a fresh round of fuel price hikes. However, KRA is arguing that this is going to put pressure put pressure in how they are doing their collection. So on one side, it's good to exempt fuel products from that tax increase because it trickles down to transportation, manufacturing, and other household items. However, KRA still says that they need some of that collection also still to pump back the money into the economy. Should we be holding on to subsidies and this exemption of fuel from taxes?
I just want to congratulate His Excellency the President because there are some things that you just need to cut off once and for all. Because if you keep on tolerating them, they will keep on hunting you over and over. The issues of subsidies. These subsidies have been hunting the government for a long time. That's why we've been seeing prices increasing over and over. Why don't we just increase the prices once and for all and start getting used to it and then start reducing it? Instead of increasing it and then to an extent, because whether we like it or not, we will have to go where we are here now. So even if we remove these subsidies by 1, we will still get to a point of 20, So I think it was a bold move to do that. And I don't think if the KRA has, because we have so many places to get these taxes.
Right.
And of course, we have already injured this sector a lot by removing the subsidies. KRA can go. We are having so many drunkards in Kenya. We are having so many churches in Kenya. We're also having many things where KRA can get this
right.
money.
So you're saying that they should expand the tax horizon. And
Yes,
exactly
they should not depend on. I think the problem with KRA, they're depending so much on fuel taxes because this is where Kenyans rely most on. But I think we still have many other places that these people, this KRA can get.
Yeah, you just
taxes
mentioned
from.
churches there, and I saw a report by one CTAM and the billions of Kenyan shillings which they've been able to raise in terms of revenue from their various churches. So maybe include churches too in the taxation and add more of those who are still not under the tax regime into that. So you can read the Business Daily on matters of tax, fuel tax increase or inflation adjustment on various products, but the exemption of fuel from that. So state fully acquires Telecom Kenya in 6.9 billion deal. Also another hard-hitting headline here, the Treasury acquiring 60% of Telecom Kenya from the UK-based private equity fund. This reminds me that CBK is also here on this on the pull-out section of the Standard. The CBK is on its way to splitting Safaricom and M-Pesa, separating its financial sector from its calls, data, and all of the others. Therefore, bringing M-Pesa finally by January of 2023. M-Pesa is going to be regulated as a financial institution and also being regulated as a bank by the Central Bank of Kenya. That is what we have on the dailies here. I just wanted us to get into how you are planning your political literacy and what exactly we can look forward into that before maybe we wrap up on the newspaper review. So how's that going?
Well, starting an initiative is not easy, and actually it's in the initial stages. When we were in campaign modes, I just sat down and with my friend Ernest, and we just looked how is the political dynamics going on in Kenya. And you can see when we had the debates of the United States of American presidents in the debates, I saw so many substantial things coming up concerning ideologies, concerning economic and stuff. But what happened in the Kenyan politics is the issues of bottom up. Even Kenyans don't understand what bottom up is, but they were so much vibrant with bottom up. Issues about 6K, issues about social welfare. And one, we don't have a country where where do we have a stand in our ideologies? Two, are we on a democratic environment, or are we on a socialist environment, or are we on a dictatorial environment? Because the systems in Kenya, we recognize globally as we are democratic in our government. But as we look at things inside, we look like we are in a dictatorial form of a government. So if you want to describe Kenya, it's very hard to describe Kenya as a form of a hereditary form of a government, or is a form of a democratic form of a government. And that's why I saw Kenyans really need to have some form of education literacy.
Right.
We really focus on educating Kenyans on how to vote. We really focus on educating Kenyans on their civil rights because we want them to go on the ballot and vote for us. But I've never seen people getting to those villages and educating Kenyans on their civil rights, on their rights to someone other than the MPs, the right to participate in the parliamentary proceedings, because the constitution gives the Kenyans rights, because it compels the parliament to make its proceeding public and to facilitate public participation in their proceedings. But that has never happened.
Right.
Those people who goes to the speaker's chambers are the elite people in the society, not the common mwananchi.
Right.
And the things that they are made in those the things that are made in those parliaments mostly touches on the common mwananchi.
Right. So maybe let me before we get into the parliament and access in terms of how Kenyans can get to participate in the active proceedings of parliament on the school level, as someone who's also in Kenyatta University final year, and also seeing that there's a lot of politics that happens on the school level. We see even in Kenyatta University, I'm sure right about now, there's an election mood. We do see a lot of coalitions, we see a lot of elections, sometimes back chaos, change of regulations. something that is actually, you could say, a copy of the national politics. Do we have education on that level?
Actually, my greater disappointment is that the mentors of these politicians who are in high school are the same old people in the society. So you find that all the things that they are bringing here in school is the clear picture of what is happening in the society. Look at the types of politics that we're having here in Kenya, in KU, like political, let's say tribal alignments. It's the same thing that happens in the society. And because, we believe that the school should be an educative forum for these people. But what's happening in the society is that we are finding that these people are getting mentored. And of course, it is our students. It is our students who, we don't even understand what is happening in the society. And we just take politics. We think like politics is a matter of argument, is a matter of speaking out loud, it's the matters of carrying out unnecessary insults and stuff. And I saw like in some posts where some people are blackmailing each other, and this is a kind of a devastating thing, because when they get out of this campus,
that's exactly what they'll do.
Is what exactly they will do. And of course, we really need to start this political literacy in this. Actually, like I was saying, like, even our students, apart from those leaders, we are entitled to inquire about the books of accounts of the KUSA. But how many students do that?
I don't think anyone has so far.
It is in the Constitution. It's in the first chapter of the Constitution that every student, a bona fide student of Kenyatta University, has the right to have an inquiry, to request for the books of account, so that we see how these KUSA people have been doing this. And it's this kind of the ignorance that we students are taking back to the society. And you'll find that an MP will squander all the money, but will not even question about it, because we are having events which are organized by these students. We're often having this political arena that are organized by these KUSA students. And us as bona fide students, we are required to do what? To have an inquiry, so that to keep these people accountable. But when there is no accountability in the government, especially by the students or by the citizens, then there is no political. We may be keeping on blaming the MPs and these politicians for being greedy and for taking their own self-interest. But what have we done?
What have we done in that direction? So, in terms of political literacy that you want to do, what are the steps you're going to take, or that you're currently looking towards taking, to ensure that every single Kenyan, or at least as many Kenyans as possible, are aware of more rights other than just the right to vote? They are aware of the legal proceedings, they are aware of political proceedings, and everything else that concerns a democracy.
Yeah, so me, first of all, the first step for every step is for awareness. So I just want to keep awareness, to drive this awareness, so that people may realize they need to have this political literacy. They need to know that the government is not about the MPs and the president and the MCs. The government is about themselves. And it's about everyone.
We plan to do civic education?
We do like public, civil education, like public awareness, like having open forums with people, especially with students, because I believe if we campus students get exposed to this political literacy and the need for the society to have this political literacy, we are able to go and spread it out after we have accomplished our tasks or our responsibilities or our education here in school. So that is my major first step. Then I'm looking forward to partner with the government as well, because I know even the government will appreciate, though despite I anticipating so much barriers, because like as they said in Kiswahili, mjinga kierevuka mwerevu yutabani. So like I'm expecting barriers, but I think I'm hoping to partner with these governmental organizations, at least to facilitate the widespread of this political literacy. Like you can see even in America, a policeman cannot just come and arrest you anyhow. He must tell you why is arresting you. He must tell you that I'm arresting you and you have these rights and these rights.
Okay.
But in Africa, in Kenya, a policeman, though it is in the constitution, but a policeman will come, hook you up, throw you into a Land Rover without even telling you the mistake you've done.
Right.
And these are the things that are affecting Africans. And we have to tell these people that they have these rights, they have these mandates, they have this responsibility, over 10 responsibilities stated in the constitutions, of which they are not aware of, because even the process of constitution making, that civil education, it was a matter of campaigning. It was just like taking the positive parts of it, excite the the Kenyans to vote for the constitution, but it didn't take the Kenyans into that deeper meaning, so that at least Kenyans, when they're faced with these situations, they can respond, or they can quote such a certain verse, and they become victims. So we want to partner with government, at least to tell Kenyans that they have these roles, they have these rights.
The culture of killing the culture of ignorance and silence, as you've mentioned. Sometimes we are silent because someone doesn't want to stand up for their rights, and therefore the next person will see maybe this is the norm, as you've mentioned. Even with law enforcement officers, you don't get to question them, therefore the next person will not question it, because we have cultivated such a culture of silence. How can people maybe join in to support you in this, because I'm seeing here we're also running against the clock? How can people join in to support this political literacy movement, or maybe how can they get to know where they can find you while you do these open forums?
Well, it's a matter of initiation. So like I have a blog spot, like it's called Politically Active Political Literacy 254 at .blogspot.com, which I try to...
Can you take that again, maybe? Political Literacy 254.
Yes.
.blogspot.com.
Right. At least it's just a way of, it's just my articles of trying to tell people, like, this way is how we can do things. We don't have to do things the way they were done in the past.
Right. And that is what Billy Khaemba is promising us here, that you can get to know much more in what is happening in the world of politics. Your obsession with politics should not just be about the election period, but much more matters into the mandate of those people that you elect to parliament, or also how the rights, or how your rights are guaranteed in the constitution, much more than just your right to vote. Read us we usually have our guests read us the last quote here on the Business Daily before we can wrap up the newspaper review.
So it reads, I'd rather regret the risks that didn't work out than the chances I didn't take at all.
Yeah?
I'd rather regret the risks that didn't work out than the chances I didn't take at all.
Right. Big risks, big reward. That is the message at the back of the Business Daily. Thank you very much, Billy, for making time for us here.
Thank you.
And